Movement! Right, just something to add from the last video. Before we actually add a script to our player so we can code it up so we can make it move left, right, up and down in a top-down sense. In respect of when you bring in your assets, so I've got the ball, I've got the chicken, I've got the pitch. Now, my game is called top-down. I couldn't think of another thing to call it. But within your assets folder, what you'll have then is all the kind of things you've brought in, and I haven't, as you can see, I haven't got many things at the moment. So I've got the ball, I've got the chicken, I've got the pitch. It kind of does something with it. I think it zips up those little bits and pieces as well. And the detail of the scene, so that's the current scene we're currently on, the sample scene, are saved into that folder. So the reason I'm showing you this is because if you like kind of have your ball and you think actually it doesn't look quite right, rather than opening up that ball wherever you originally had it and changing and then re-importing it in, you just need to change this version of it or this version of the chicken and it will automatically update here for you. Okay, so now that bit's over with, let's talk about how we can get our chicken to move. So, as we did in the previous video, we added a component to make it, to give it the rigid body, so it basically didn't, so it had gravity associated with it. Now, the reason we had that is because when it comes to actually playing and bumping into the ball, which we'll get to at some stage, you'll need to have a rigid body, and we'll also need to add a collider in as well. But just for the time being, we're going to add a component. We're actually going to type in what we're going to call our script. So it's going to be player movement, and you can't have any spaces between them. And automatically, then it'll say, I don't recognize this. So is it a new script you want? And we're going to say, yeah. And then we'll click create and add at the bottom. Now, over here, then within our assets, you can see this little hashtag has appeared to indicate that this is a script, a little bit of script. And if we double click that, it will load it up within Visual Studio for us in C Sharp, so we can actually start doing some coding. And automatically, it gives you this then. So this is like the stuff just to kind of help you out if you need it. Now we're actually going to get rid of these bits here, and we're also going to get rid of those top two lines. There's no harm in those top two lines at this stage, but it's just to minimize the amount of code you've got in front of you, basically. And the other thing I want to point out as well, before we do any changes to it, when you actually do click on your script, it previews it here as well, so you can see what it looked like when the last time it was saved. And obviously, because these yellow bits here, that's indicating that I haven't saved anything. But when I do press Control S to save it, and I go back onto Unity, it'll do a little load up bit, and eventually this will change to reflect what's actually in here. Right, now the code you need to type in for player movement, I've actually got here in this field. In this Word document. So I'm literally going to copy this stuff. You guys will have to type it up yourselves. And I'm going to paste it into there. And when I press Control S, like I said, to save it, and I go back onto um uh what's it called? Onto Unity, it will then start compiling it. Now, if there are any errors with this, there will be like red writing down here to say something's not quite right. So you'll just basically, and I've given an indication of what line on the code might be wrong. So, for example, if it said line 11, it means something's not typed in right here, might be you've missed a capital letter, that type of thing. Now, basically, what this is doing is it's kind of saying, well, what is it you want to move? So the player movement is associated on the player itself, but we're saying it's what we've got the rigid body set on. And move X means that it will move it horizontal, left and right. Move Y will move it up and down, so vertical, up and down. And it'll also multiply it by the speed, which is this part here. Now, when we come back onto Unity, now no errors, great. If I actually click on the player on here, you'll see that the script has been associated with it, and this is that speed bit which was just referred to in the code. Now, at the moment, speed is default set to 0, and I can change it here to have it whatever speed I want. Now, what should happen is when I press play, our player won't do anything until we press up, down, left, or right, and it will start moving any second now. So here we go. And if I press right, it moves to the right. If I press left, it moves to the right. Right, it moves to the left. If I press up, it goes up. If I press down, it goes down. Now at this point, it runs over the ball because we haven't actually put like a rigid body on the ball at all. And the other issue is it's always facing to the right. So let's fix that problem now then. So basically, we want to kind of it to turn to face up if I'm moving up and face left if I'm moving left, etc., etc. So back on our code on my special Word document. I'm just literally going to add in these highlighted lines to the code we just did. And it goes in this void update section. So I'm just going to enter down from that point there and paste them in. And basically what this says is if we press the left arrow, it will change the rotation of whatever this is associated with. And remember, this code is connected to our player, our chicken, and it's going to make it face 90 degrees on the Z axis. Same for if I press right to make it look at 270 degrees on the Z axis, up arrow 0 degrees, and down arrow 180 degrees. So if you imagine like a protractor, 90 is to the left, which is a bit odd, I know. 270 is to the right, and 0 is up, and 180 is down. So let's press Control S to save there. Hopefully there's no issues with any of the code, and there shouldn't be, because I've kind of already tested it, unless it didn't work properly that time. And I'm just going to make sure my player is selected so we can actually look at the rotation here. Because at the moment I'm set to minus 90, which is 270 really, isn't it? Facing to the right, which is what the code said. But if we keep an eye on this bit here, once I press play, and it loads up, sorry, I just have to click my knuckles in preparation for the game. So at the moment I'm minus 90, so we're looking at the Z here. If I press left, I turn to face the other way, which is plus 90, up is 0, down is minus 180, and right is minus 90. So it's a bit odd, but in terms of what it does, but it works. In terms of the numbers which appear here oddness-wise. So now I'm facing the way in which I move in. Now the issue is I can't get the camera to follow me if I go off screen. And as you can see by my X position, I'm still going off screen, and further off screen. And now I'm on the way back up to this point, and eventually I'll come back in. And the same happens when I go up as well. So the next video is going to be, how do we make this ball move?